It is time again to remember Good Friday, and on a day like this, I felt like recording something really small and maybe not so small, but I posted something earlier today. But I wanted to share that even in denial or betrayal, God's plan prevails. A moment like today always takes me back to two simple but profound questions were often asked during religious education or RE in Uganda. Number one, who betrayed Jesus? And the answer was Judas Iscariot. And number two, who denied Jesus? And the answer always correct one was Simon Peter. You see, Judas and Simon Peter were not strangers to Jesus. They were his friends. They walked with him, learned from him, shared life together. Yet even in the closeness, one betrayed him and the other denied him. Jesus being God, I have notes here, that's why if you notice me looking down, I had to write notes. But Jesus being God already knew, I have a perception that he already knew what Simon Peter and Judas Iscariot were capable. He knew Judas would betray him and Simon Peter would deny him. Yet he still invited them to walk with him and serve alongside him. That alone speaks volume about God's grace. And to think of betraying Jesus, how much did Judas get paid? Judas betrayed Jesus for 30 pieces of silver, according to Matthew 26:15. When Judas approached Jesus with a kiss was supposed to be the sign of betrayal. Jesus responded with calmness and purpose. Hear what Jesus replied to Judas after Judas had kissed him as a sign that the one that I kissed, that's the one to kill. Jesus said to Judas, "Friend, do what you came to do." Matthew 26:50. Even in betrayal, nothing caught Jesus off guard. Later, it turns out like Judas didn't even get to enjoy the 30 pieces of silver that he betrayed the friend for. He felt some bit sense of remorse or guilt. And according to Matthew 27, verses 3-5, it says, when Judas, who had betrayed him, saw that Jesus was condemned, he was seized with remorse and returned the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders. And he said, "I have sinned," he said, "for I have betrayed innocent blood." So Judas threw the money into the temple and went away and hanged himself. Sorry for Judas. He had to hang himself because the remorse and the guilt of betraying a good friend was too hard for him to bear. It sounds like Jesus regretted what he had done, but tragically, he could not find forgiveness and restoration before ending his own life. What a tragedy that befell Judas. And some say Bayuda tuita nabo, because Judas was a close friend to Jesus. Bayuda tuita nabo is like, the Judas. There are many Judases, there are many Peters in the world today. Let me talk about Peter. There's this Peter, Simon Peter. I think perhaps out of fear for his own life, he denied Jesus not once, not twice, but 1, 2, 3 times. This is the same Simon Peter who once stepped out of a boat and walked on water as long as his eyes were fixed on Jesus. Yet in a moment of pressure, he faltered. I don't know him. I think he wanted to make sure, because he was like, if my master can be captured and killed, if I say I know him, they probably would kill me. So I have a feeling that he wanted to distance himself from being killed. But you see, even still, Simon Peter's denial was not outside of God's plan. It was not just a personal failure. It was part of a greater purpose that he himself did not yet understand. Peter himself didn't fully understand that it was part of a purpose all along. Interestingly, Simon Peter loved Jesus deeply. In fact, when Jesus spoke of his upcoming suffering before, Peter rebuked him, but Jesus responded firmly to him, "Go away, Satan. You are stumbling block to me. You do not have in mind the concerns of God, but merely human concerns." And that's in Matthew 16, verses 23. You see, Peter's response was deeply rooted in love, but shaped by human understanding rather than divine purpose. And yet, this same Simon Peter who denied Jesus was later restored, strengthened, and transformed. Jesus declared that he would be the rock upon that confession of faith, that the church would be built according to Matthew 16, verses 18. Peter is the rock. The same guy that denied Jesus is the rock upon which the church was founded. And tradition tells us that Simon Peter remained so devoted to Christ and to the Lord that he even chose to be crucified upside down, feeling unworthy to die in the same manner as his Lord, Master, and King. You see, we live in a world filled with betrayal and denial. I don't know how many times you've been betrayed or denied, or maybe you and I don't know how many times I've maybe denied others or betrayed others, even without knowing. But I think part of this denial and betrayal are often driven by fear or pressure or what we perceive as immediate realities. But Good Friday reminds us of this. Even what looks like failure, betrayal, or denial can still serve God's greater purpose. Nothing is wasted in God's hands. So today, my friends, or my friend, as we remember the death of Jesus, the ransom paid for our sins, let us hold on to hope. Sunday is coming. Again, this was Gilbert Fitundinda, helping you find hope and purpose. And I hope this reflection will remind you that there is a reason to hope. Sunday is coming. Jesus didn't remain in the tomb. He resurrected on the third day. And he cared for you and me deeply. May the Lord bless you and have a wonderful day. God bless. Bye.